Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We are here with the Married at First Sight Coalition. Yes, I have gathered the Avengers from the four corners of YouTube together to come together and give us a deep analysis of Married at First Sight. Now, I know you guys, you've seen me talk about Married at First Sight. You've seen other people come onto the site, but you haven't seen these four. I say four. There's three of us actually. Four. That's four, including myself. But you haven't seen us four come together and dissect the show the way it's about to be dissected. So please, first of all, grab your popcorn, grab your notepad and pen, grab some water, okay? Because it's gonna get a little bit hot in here. But I'm gonna let each individual person introduce themselves. I have Jack and Glenn, Stephanie, and August Love Story. I know you guys recognize them. I see the comments, so you guys are going mad for it already. But I'm gonna let each individual person introduce himself and then let them know where you can find them as well. So I'm gonna go with August Love Story because you're my left hand corner. I'm gonna unmute you guys. Please let us know who you are and where we can also find you.
I'm Artika.
And I'm Tommy.
And we're online. August Love Story everywhere. We're on August Love Story on Instagram, August Love Story on Facebook. My personal Instagram is Artika. His personal Instagram is
I am Tommy. You should know that.
I know it. I just don't like saying it.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, August Love Story. If I get Stephanie Lee as well. Stephanie, if you could introduce yourself as well and let them know where they can find you. Let me unmute you. That would be good, wouldn't it?
Hi, everyone. It's such a great, I'm so happy to be here. I am a mental health therapist as well as a relationship expert, and I love all things entertainment. So I started doing the reviews on Married at First Sight and a couple of other shows. I have a conversation starter card game called Sip and Share, a fun way to be nosy. I can be found on IamSuccessfullyMe.com as well as Instagram, I am Successfully Me, and on my YouTube, youtube.com/successfullyme. So I'm everywhere.
Thank you very much. Definitely appreciate it. Last but definitely not least, my two funny people that I love the most, man. I love when they go at it, man. Jack and Glenn, if you could introduce yourselves and let them know where they can also find you.
I'm Jackie.
And I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn. And we're from the Jack and Glenn channel.
Yeah, you can definitely find us on Instagram at Jack_Glenn. You can find me on Twitter at Real Glenn Thomas.
And me at Jackie112 on Instagram.
Jackie112 on Instagram.
JACCI.
Yeah, and
112.
And our YouTube channel is Jack and Glenn, where we drop reviews on all relationship shows that we think are necessary.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much, guys, as well. It's good to see you guys assembled in one place. So usually I start strong and I go with Chris because he is usually the topic starter. But I'm actually gonna flip it. I'm gonna flip it. All right, we'll leave until last. All right, so we can get some goodness in there. But I want to start with Clara and start with Ryan. Okay, because I think it's quite interesting. I'm gonna pinpoint one particular scene for you guys. The scene where they're in the bed and they're talking after all the events that have happened. Ryan says a very interesting line. He says he wants her to control her mouth. Now, I want to put that to the panelists. What was our original? I guess our first thought hearing those lines from Ryan towards Clara. Did you agree with Clara saying that she felt a bit restricted, or was it, good observation from Ryan?
Well,
I to kick it off.
Go for it.
I was gonna say I thought that I knew what Ryan was trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, control what you like. It's a way to have this conversation, but you got to control what you come out because you can't control what people give you. Her feeling like she was restricted, I think she took it the wrong way, to be honest with you. Completely the wrong way. And I don't think he was trying to control her in any type of way. It's just, he wasn't going to jump into this because he felt like it wasn't his business. But, since you're going to talk, if you're going to say something, like, say it in a better way to where, you don't get the response that you got today. So that's how I took it.
Okay.
So for me, I took. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
For me, I feel like they are not matched well. I think that he is far more rigid than would work for how completely opposite she is. Therefore, even though I think I agree with August in saying, he's saying like, watch the way that you say things, because honestly, as a woman, if you step to a man, you put your significant other in jeopardy to have to jump in and now defend you. But where I feel like there is a little bit of control there is because he is very regimented and she is the complete opposite. And I think that he is kind of going to struggle with her being kind of off the wall, off the cuff, and it's going to make him uncomfortable. And he's going to try to control a lot of the natural way that she is. So we're going to see this element from him. And it is because he wants her to be more regimented than she is. Specifically for that situation, I think he was right. But I also think they haven't built enough of a relationship where she could hear it the way that he was saying.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. I totally agree with that. I think the way he did it was with them together in the bed, that he didn't front her out in front of everybody else. I think that was a great point there. I think when he did it, they were laying together, having a conversation. Look, I need you to control this. Now, he could have said it in a better way, like, let's not jump involved or get involved with things that doesn't pertain to us. Let's try to focus on our relationship. In other words, let's not poke the bear. You know what I'm saying? When you see somebody angry, when you see somebody upset, mind your business a little bit. He already asked us to, stay private. So at the same time, just relax and calm down and let us handle us. He could have said it in a different verbiage.
Yeah, I know for us, in a couple, you always kind of have one that can temper the situation. You know what I mean? And so, like, I know there are times that I'm like, husband, you probably shouldn't say it that way. You might not want to say it that way. So, there's a word that says everything that's lawful is not expedient. So you got a spouse that'll be like, you're right. Don't say it like that. And so, you don't take it as like you were saying, if you're a little bit longer in a relationship, you will receive it in that way. But fresh off, we'll feel like, oh, you telling me what to do? I'm trying to be me. You don't want me to be me? And so Ryan can say, no, it's not that. I'm just trying to keep you safe and keep you out of some mess. So, yeah, pull that back just a little bit, because that's a man you're dealing with.
And not only keep you safe, I don't have to put these paws on nobody. Let's be honest. I ain't got to put these paws on nobody.
I agree there. If I go back to August's love story, sis, you were going to say, sorry, I know you were going to.
Oh, no, I was basically about to say the exact same thing.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the situation of what Ryan said was not wrong. It was just how he said it. She wasn't taking what he said for how he meant it to come out. She took it as a control thing, and he was essentially just saying, hey, stay out of other people's business.
Right.
That's it. So I think it's all about how you say it, not what was said.
Okay. Yeah. I guess obviously everyone's here is in a relationship. Right. Well, I assume so. Yeah. Maybe a silly question. But I guess I want to ask you then. So how does one go about saying that then to a partner that, hey, maybe you are the way that you talk, maybe it may not be the best way. How do you say that in a relationship? How best is that said to a partner without making them feel offended by that?
I think it depends on how long the relationship has been going on. We all see, that at the beginning of a relationship, everything is a thing, and you walk on eggshells and you want to pour sugar on everything, and you want to be perfect, and it's just very difficult at the beginning of a relationship. So I feel like more sugarcoating has to be done. However, when you've gotten comfortable in your relationship and the intentionality of your partner, there's a lot less room to be offended. And I always like to kind of sandwich different difficult conversations or whatever the case may be. So start off with a positive, say what you need to say that may not be that great, close it off with a positive. I'll also use, myself as an example. Like if I'm talking to my husband, babe, this is not the best thing. I struggle with this. So the person doesn't get defensive and say, you're coming at me. It's an inclusive thing to kind of marry the idea of you can get better, I can get better, but here we're talking about you right now. And go from there. So, yeah.
I appreciate that, Steph. Yeah. If I go to August and then I go to Jack and Glenn, yeah. How would you say it to each other? How do you get to convey that message?
It's different for us, just because we've tried everything. You know what I'm saying? And at this point, we're very direct with each other, because we both would have said something completely different from what Ryan said. You know, like,
he wouldn't have like in the moment of that all going on, he would have just pulled me to the side and said,
yeah, because like what you said, Stephanie, it's like I'm already protective of my wife.
Trust
like
me.
you're not gonna talk to my wife like she's crazy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I get why, because the thing is, I was looking at Ryan. Ryan was standing off to the side. That conversation would have been deaded quick.
Yeah.
As soon as he raised his voice, hey brother, we got a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we have a problem. Like I ain't finna fight you or anything, but you ain't finna talk to this one like that.
Exactly.
And so, you know, but I correct her first. It's like me checking myself first before I go check somebody else. You know, so I would check her first, and then I'll be more direct with him. But I'm telling her, like, hey, I need you to know what I'm trying to say right here, right now, before the situation gets worse. You know, so.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think we'd have made eye contact. We'd have looked at, we've been together so long, we'd have made eye contact. She would have known, like, yo, shut that down, come over this way. And I would have stepped in the middle, like, all right, bro, it's cool, understand. But like you said, I would have checked her, not necessarily checked, but like Jack, come here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Come here for a minute. Let's move away from this situation, you know, and let's move away from this situation and let him focus all his attention on Virginia. She got a husband. My job is to protect you. You know,
exactly.
Her husband does do what he do, but my job is going to protect you. So what? We're gonna slide you away. Let's come over here. Let's go get some water, some Gatorade, whatever, and let him focus attention here. Now, if he comes over this way, because it's an imaginary line that's drawn. Right? So now, once we step away and he comes over here, it is my job to defend this line that you just crossed. You know, the song said, "Try Jesus, but don't try me." You know,
right. There you go.
I want to ask the men a question. You kind of answered it already, but I want to ask the men a question, because I think when I watched the scene where Chris does go off, I was concerned the fact that both Eric and Ryan were quite passive. I know Eric went around, but he was still quite passive in terms of allowing Chris to continue to rail on their partners. So I guess from a male perspective, I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts. Was there anything wrong with Ryan and Eric's response in the moment watching Chris, I guess, go off on both Clara and, I was about to say vodka, and Virginia?
Yeah, vodka, right.
I was called the wrong name. Sorry, the comment section is wild, man.
Look, I had to be like, who is vodka? I don't remember this. I had issue with their response to it, because I don't yell at my wife. So I don't expect anybody to yell at my wife. If my wife is wrong, me and my wife will talk about her wrongness. And when I saw that he started to get angry and upset and didn't want to talk about it anymore, like when he called the girl a drunk, that the whole conversation, I would shut everything down. Period. Like you don't talk to Virginia or Clara. I would step in for Ryan, like, because I mean, like, it's always a way to have a conversation.
Yeah,
and that's what me and her, we're learning with doing the YouTube, doing the podcast. We're learning how to talk to each other, and there's always a way to have a conversation with somebody and find out information you want to find out. So that being the case, he starts yelling. That's not the way to find out, because it only brings tension to the conversation, as we saw in the van. You know, so yeah, no, I don't think they handled that correctly at all.
I don't think so neither. I think both of them could have shut it down real easily. I think if you would have stood up to Chris and be like, yo, dog, you can't talk to my wife like that, it would have been easier shut down. Because what happens, they let that linger at the ATV, so he thought it was fine at the dinner. You see what I'm saying? When Eric came. So if they would have shut it down at the beginning, it wouldn't have got to the van. It wouldn't have thought he could raise hell on the van like he said, because it would have been shut down. I realized when you bring another man into this picture, especially somebody like Ryan or even Eric, they would have stood like, dog, hey, talk to me, not to my wife. Let's handle Let's handle it here as men. Or if you can't talk to my wife in a decent way, we'll leave. And so you leave. I think Chris would have stopped because you eliminate the fire there. You took some fire away by leaving. But yeah, both of those guys should have said something to Chris, or at least took their wives and went another direction and diffuse the situation.
Well, if I can, I told my husband anyway. I said, how did the two of the ladies end up with just Chris anyway?
Production.
Right. And initiate that conversation. It's like Clara said, Virginia started, that's a hibernating bear. She started poking the bear. He was mad. You know what I'm saying? You gonna make an angrier man angrier. So I mean, I put some responsibility on the men too, you know, when they saw it happening, they, you know, could have been like, hey, don't talk to my wife like that. But also from the woman's side, leave that man alone. Mm-hmm. Leave that man alone. And after you say your piece, and he like, hey, mind your business. I'm telling, but Virginia was too far gone. I mean,
yeah.
But it's her immaturity in her, I want to call it alcoholic because I don't know, her drinking that makes the situation worse. Mm-hmm. Because she's young-minded. We got to realize she's 26 years old. Yeah. She is very young. I mean, still to the way that she want to party and hang out. So I think that where she doesn't understand enough's enough. She's never been around anybody who said, you know what, that's it. They just let her have her free will. Or that's Virginia, the party girl.
Let me ask the ladies then. So from your point of view, how did you perceive it then for the ladies? Because I guess obviously watching obviously it unfold between Chris, Clara and Virginia, you know, I think the initial conversation is like, okay, cool, they're going back and forth. And then it kind of gets a little bit more, I'll call it, in pantomime, you'll be looking at saying that he's behind you kind of thing, right? Because he starts coming towards them in quite an aggressive manner. You know, how would you have perceived it from your perspective, or how did you perceive it from your perspective in terms of how the ladies handled the situation? Would you have handled it the same way in a sense? No? If I go Stephanie again, Stephanie, go for it.
Okay, so I agree with Jackie in the sense that they need to be held accountable as well, because they stepped in a way that really aggravated him. Women operate in packs, though. So when we see one of us being wronged, we naturally have the inclination to want to say, oh, don't do that to my girl, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And really, when we think about this whole experiment, she's on an island because none of them really know each other. So I get why they feel the need to, hey, she has someone here. She has people who care about her. So like maybe a comment because they've been talking about it. But I don't think they should have taken it that far. And also, like, as a woman, you have to have self-awareness to know who you're talking to and how easily they can be triggered. So, like, for me, for example, I was walking into a grocery store one time, and there was this guy trying to get my attention, and he was very belligerent. So my normal, colorful way that I'd respond to be, leave me alone, I knew that was not the thing to do with that type of person, because I feel like he could have attacked me in a way that somebody else's energy would have not. And so as women, we have to be self-aware. So Chris is always ready for a girl fight. He operates very feminine in his way and his posturing to argue with women and to, walk up to a woman and try to get it in. So like, they also have to be aware that this is also not someone that you want to antagonize, because he's not going to approach it like the type of man that you think he should be. He's not going to do that. And you can get yourself in even more trouble. So there's a lot of like lack of awareness, and they did overstep.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Virginia should have had enough presence of mind to be like, okay, this is not going right. And I guess I'm a different breed, because I've been like, who you talking to?
Same.
Anyway, that's the difference. That's what else Chris didn't have. Like, they kind of did that, but they didn't do that. I'd be like, bruh, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but all I'm trying to do is, like you said, that pack mentality. I'm trying to go for my girl because you doing her wrong. And personally, I'd be like, Glenn, come get him. Because he don't know me like that. Come get him, please.
I said the exact same thing in our review. if I had been on that bus and he decided to pop off like that, it would have been a lot of hand clapping saying, "You want to make TV? Let's make TV because I'm with it." It wouldn't have happened that way. I don't think that he would have approached a woman that acts that way that way.
That's it.
Like he knew that he had the right one to get the scene that he wanted to make in that moment. I think that, like, if we take an example from a previous season, had that been Amani, that would have never happened.
No.
I give you one season better. If it would have been Brianna, it wouldn't have happened.
It would not happen.
Yeah, let's call it, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. He wouldn't have did that to a sister.
No.
I'm calling what it is. Y'all can be mad on YouTube, whatever. He wouldn't have done that to a sister.
No, he wouldn't have.
So he tried who he can try. Okay, cool. No, I get that.
That's how it goes.
That's right. That's how it goes. That's how they look for. If we shift the conversation then from away from Clara and Ryan, Haley and Haley and Jacob. I'm still trying not to laugh at the situation because there is a particular part of the episode, where Jacob says that he went downstairs to go and get some food and realized that obviously Haley was there with the other couple. What made it even more painful is the fact that she was there with other couples and all the other couples ran. Like he said, they scattered. Now for me, that's almost like school behavior. You know, when you're in school and you don't like somebody and they're coming and everybody scatters. But to have that when you're a grown-ass adult, it's mind-boggling. But I guess I want to ask this question. So, what do you think is the issue between Haley and Jacob? Like, what do you think Haley's problem is? August, you've opened your mic so you can go.
She don't like him. She's not attracted to him. She don't like him, and he don't know how to have a conversation. I think that's the biggest thing, because it's simple conversations is we're talking about this, like I'm in and out, but I'm listening. I can come back and give my opinion about something and not go back to what we were previously talking about. That's me having a conversation with a person. For Jacob just talks about eating steak and working out. And it's like, okay, I understand that that's all you do, but she just said she travels. She's medical set, what she does for a living, whatever she does for a living. Like, tell me about that. That's all you have to say. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. And that's a simple conversation. So aside from her not liking him and he being the type of guy he is, that's the issue that I see.
So. Yeah, I think that Jacob is an acquired taste. You know, I think
very acquired.
Kind of like Amelia and Bennett. Like those two could have only been matched with each other. You know,
right?
I think he's nice. He's weird. Okay, he's nice, weird. But Haley is a mean girl, and when she did that this time, that really bothered me because it was laced with malice. You know, you're not doing what you're gonna do, and she's not that great. That's kind of what bothers me about her. She gives me mean girl vibes, and I do this, and I travel, and I have all of these things. She's 28. Her last relationship was when she was 21. So you ain't never really had an adult relationship. And here it's showing up. Like he might be weird, but he's trying to communicate, and he is responding like an adult. And she is ghosting him, and she is not speaking in full sentences. And there's an arrogance that comes with her that she probably thinks she's better than him. Although they are poorly matched for sure. She's not that great, and it really bothers me that she's like turning into somewhat of a mean girl. So I don't have high hopes for them.
Love that. Go for it, Jacob. Glenn.
The part too that I was like, I just found it odd, So he goes downstairs and it's all the couples and Haley. Like, what did she tell them? She had to have told them something because, she showed up and it's all of them. It's like, well, this is awkward. Where's Jacob? Whatever she said. Like, what could you have possibly said that for one husband wasn't there that they were like, oh, okay. And then, like you said, I'm trying to picture them scattering when they saw him. I just can't fathom that. Like, did they really? Is this for real? Like, oh, here he comes.
But you can tell that he's not into her. She's not into him because every time as he talks about it, she's always on the phone with her friends. She's always having conversation with other people. He said she's FaceTiming them. You're on your honeymoon and you're FaceTiming people back home. you're on your honeymoon, y'all having group chats. You know what I'm saying? That's already lets you know that she's not into him. She likes being around the group, but she doesn't like being around him one-on-one. So she finds any excuse to be with other people besides him. And I think that's where, and then I think she has a little bit of regret too, because she had drunk sex with him.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. She was drinking, one thing led to another. So now she's like, oh, dang, I gave it up to this dude, and I don't really like him. So it's like remorse.
And I think Stephanie was saying, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought, but it's like just kind of mean girlish, like just tell the man I'm not really feeling you. We'll get there. I don't know. She's not really giving him a chance. That's what I was going to say. Right. She's not, because it's been so long since she's had a relationship. She's not really giving it a chance. I feel like she wasn't ready. For you to keep saying I'm having a hard time getting used to being around someone 24/7. What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you weren't ready to be around someone 24/7, you definitely. But besides everything else, you were not ready to get married at first sight.
Right.
Is that a genuine excuse, or is that really how she really feels? Going for it, August. You can go for it.
Now I was gonna say, it's like it's they have an idea of how this thing should go, but it's like at the end of the day, it's an experiment. So it's like put everything into it.
Right.
Like everything that's causing you to be guarded or whatnot, let it go, because you don't know if you like this person or not. You don't know if you and this person won't make it as a married couple, but you guys will be able to be great friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I'm a friendly person. It takes not much for me to get a laugh and joke with you and be friends with you and stuff like that. So I look at it as it should be the easiest thing. If I got to be here with you, we're going to have a good time. Mm-hmm. Regardless of if I like you or if I don't. We're going to have a good time because I enjoy myself and I like to have fun in life. So I think it's just a cop-out that she, I don't like them and I don't want to be around them, and I've been single all this time. So it's a cop-out to me, man. Just like do the experiment you signed up for. You've watched, it's the 12th season, so you know what happens. Right. You know exactly what happens. So it's like, man, just go through it and enjoy it, man.
Guys, by the way, obviously, audience members, we're halfway through. I want you guys just to follow these guys on their YouTubes. We've got Jack and Glenn. Okay, please make sure you like, you share, and subscribing to their channel as well. We've got Stephanie Lee as well. Please subscribe to her channel for more great content like this. We've also got August Love Story as well. Please subscribe to their channel as well, guys. All right, if you want to see more great conversations, please subscribe to their individual channels as well. So talking obviously about the Haley and the Jacob situation, we'll finish it off and then move on to the next. The Haley and Jacob situation, what is there any hope for them? that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to ask that question. Is there any hope for them? And if there is, what needs to be done per se, maybe, or what can be done if because she's not feeling him. He's bland. It almost gives me the Henry and what's her name?
Christina,
the girl at the house situation. Yeah, that gives me that vibe. So, is there any hope for them? That's what I want to kind of ask. Any hope for them? I don't think so. I think she's already checked out. I think she's already gone. I think she's just going to bide her 8 weeks. I think there might be some glimpses there, because he's doing everything. He's communicating. He's trying to be open, and she's not receiving anything. I think it gets worse when she gets back home because she's closer to her friends. Mm-hmm. So she has an outlet. She has people that she can connect with. Right now, she's in Vegas, and it's just them 24 hours. When she get home and you throw work and you throw the production time and you throw all her friends back home and been in and all that stuff, it's gonna get worse for him, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. She's completely checked out of this situation at this point. I think that if she tries, they could, but that's a big if. Like, I don't know that she is interested in trying at this point, because even when we got to see the preview for next week's episode, there was a blow up that with them moving in together of him saying that he's not even trying. So I don't think that she's going to try at this point.
Stephanie, any hope for them?
I mean, it's really up to them. I feel like if she would get over herself, because he's trying. I feel like there could be like this serendipitous experience for them where they're like, oh, I did not think you're like the last person in the world I thought that I could possibly have feelings for. But I think she'll have to grow up, because if you recall during the matchmaking special, her friend said that every guy that she ran into, she kind of cut him off. There was always an issue. So she is a bigger problem than she thinks she is. But if she doesn't want to, then probably not.
Hoo-wee. Okay, cool. I appreciate it. So we're moving on to Eric and to Virginia. I keep thinking I have to almost say vodka. Eric and Virginia.
Is that what y'all call her?
That's the audience. They be telling me to call her. They be telling me vodka and tonic. They be telling me to call these people and stuff like that. The audience are bad, man. They be telling me all these names. With Eric and Virginia, I mean, we saw them in quite a few scenes. Obviously, this particular episode. Obviously, the main one was obviously the blow up with Chris in the dinner table situation. Did you feel like what Eric and Virginia did at that moment was wrong? Is it a blame to go all the way round? Like, how did you guys perceive that particular scenario and scene? I mean, I know they came in late. Anybody would think they were black people, but yeah, how do we perceive that particular scene with Eric and Virginia in that particular scenario
at the dinner table?
Yeah,
them being late was like that's the cause of it. Like it was a deaded situation, and then they came and basically opened the door again. It was like unnecessary to say what you need. It was, first off, it was unnecessary for him to come to the table. He should have that should have been a conversation with him and Chris. Like, they should have got off the van. Hey, Chris, let me talk to you. Or probably not right after they got off that van, but he should have pulled Chris aside and let me talk to you. Hey, anytime you and Virginia got to talk to each other, just come through me. That's simple. You coming to the table, first off, y'all were late. You gave this apology that, I mean, it being the 5th or 6th day and you already apologized to your wife 3 times. Something is wrong, man. So, now you apologizing to the whole table. Like, something you got to check yourself. And then so Eric, then they come to the table and bring up everything. It's like, that's on them. That blow up is completely on them.
Okay, I like that. Stephanie, you looking at me like what you thinking?
So I support the blow up.
Okay.
Here's why. I feel like Chris likes to be the aggressor, and he likes to try people who he knows will let him get away with it. I don't even think that apology was genuine. Him saying that Paige prayed for him, he called his grandma. Grandma told him that I think all of that is BS. I think that he showed his behind to the entire group. And so it's like a group experience at this point. So I think that it was appropriate for Eric to come and set his boundaries. I think that Chris continuously shows that he does not know how to respond appropriately, because as a person, you're going to be put in situations where you're not always treated the best, or the situation isn't the best, but you can't respond like you want to respond. And he has no self-control. The difference I think the only thing that should have been done differently, and I agree with everybody else in saying this, is that Eric should have handled that at the ATVs. Like I said in my review, I would be terrified to see what my husband would do if some man was just talking to me like that at an activity. We would have never got to the van. Like it would have been dead. Detroit would have been all the way up through those mountains on that. It would have been. I just can't even imagine. That's another thing. I wouldn't even posture with a man, because I would be like, I don't want my husband to have to get involved in a situation where it becomes ugly, because he just would not deal with that type of disrespect. So I feel like Virginia, having 3 brothers and a father, she probably went upstairs, talked about what her brothers and her dad would have done.
Yep.
As a husband, he's kind of feeling, kind of weak. And so he comes down on 10 saying, this is what you're not going to do. And I'm okay with that because Chris has been showing his, behind.
Right.
I mean, and he just does what he wants to do and no one challenges him. And the fact that somebody challenged him, even saying manning up, like everything that doesn't go his way, he has a problem with. I think that apology only went smoothly because they all accepted it. But if they were to say, I hear your apology, but here's what we're not going to do again. Let's set some rules of engagement to ensure that this doesn't happen again, instead of just all these empty apologies, then he would have been upset that it wasn't received, or why are you telling me this, or I'm doing XYZ. So I support it.
I would like to think, maybe this is just the optimist in me. I would like to think that if they had said to him with his apology, okay, so now that you apologize, this is what we're going to do. I would like to think after his conversation with his grandmother, and after Paige praying for him, I would like to think he really came in the right mindset and he would have been able to receive it right then. That's what I would like to think. But I have a twofold thing. Like you said, me and my husband talked about it. I know people that have said, I'm going to get you where you show out. Where you act out, that's where I'm going to get you. So I believe what happened was, like you said, they went back to the room and it was a little bit of Virginia hyping Eric up.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of Eric like, man, I should have said, man, I ain't do that right. He was pumping himself up too.
Between drinks.
Yeah, when his little bit of current. And so when he got down there, he was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to tell him. When he really should have done it then. Get him where you act out. Because the other thing is, when hours go in between, Chris don't have all the sense in the world, but he has a little bit of sense. So them couple of hours in between, it did give him some time to come to himself and be like, ugh. Because he has some home training now. He got home training. So I think he had enough sense to be like, ugh, yeah, I didn't act right. I didn't act right. So cooler heads prevail. But when you in your room getting that liquid courage and you keep pumping you up, my daddy wouldn't have let nobody talk to me like that. You know what would have happened to my daddy? My brothers was here. Oh my God. Fireworks. I'm saying, I need you to step up. No, Eric. And he was like, yeah, I'm a pilot. Why am I doing this?
I'm a military man. But I think that with Chris, I don't justify the behavior.
No.
But you can see the conflict in Chris. When you look at him, you can see the warring that he has between himself and the manipulation. He might have been calm for that minute, and might have talked to grandma. She might have calmed him down because everybody has that person they talk to. And grandma's conversation probably was like, "Baby, you disrespecting us on TV. You making our family look like a straight fool on TV. I need you to go ahead and calm that stuff down and try to be married." Because she old school. When you watch when she was there, grandma was old school. She didn't want the confusion of that, and so he came down there. And we really honest, he only really apologized to one couple because Haley and Jacob wasn't there. Brianna and Vincent wasn't there. He was really apologizing just to Clara and Ryan at the time. So his apology was at the whole table, but he really was apologizing to Clara and Eric and Ryan for his behavior. So it should have been directed to them. And Ryan's not confrontational because everything he does is calculated. So he's not going to make a scene because he comes from good home training and good stock. So he's not going to make a scene. So when Eric came in, I think what happened was Eric didn't allow Chris to respond, and Chris didn't allow Eric to respond. So when he brought attitude, Chris brought attitude back. When you give attitude, if Eric would have stepped there and said, you know what, Chris, go ahead and say your piece. Well, Chris would have been like, Eric, go ahead and say your piece, process it. Because we saw Ryan try to say, you know what, hey, there's no need for that because he's already apologized to everybody. But Eric wasn't hearing that because his mind was like on the elevator from the downstairs. When I get to this table, I'm going to tell Chris how I feel. He was one-track minded. So it wouldn't matter what would have happened. His mind was already one track that when we get downstairs and I see Chris, I'm going to let him know what's going on. He didn't even hear anything that Ryan said. It was like, you know what? I'm going here. And so when he brought attitude, Chris was like, you know what? You want to give it to me? Let me give it to you. Now, if you look at how we know who Chris is, when Chris really didn't want to go there because when Vincent grabbed him, he ain't doing
trying to fight. Yeah.
so see, I'm a fighter, so I knew if you really want to go there, ain't nobody holding you there if you want to go there. He wasn't trying to go there.
And somebody else said, somebody else made a point too, though. Again, his apology fell flat too. Like my husband said, who he really should have apologized to, they weren't even at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
So he really should have waited until he got there.
Agreed.
But I guess it was on his heart and he had to get it off his heart then. But you should have waited till everybody that was really involved was there, because 2 of the couples that were there, they weren't even involved. I'm sure they heard about it, but then they were like, well, dang, what really? What happened?
Yeah. So
I think Eric triggers him. I think Eric and Virginia triggers him. I don't think he really wanted to apologize to them, because Eric is telling him to man up. Virginia's like, is the baby yours? And I don't think she was making a joke. I think because she has a goofy affect, you know, she's always like, so I think she was really like, is the baby yours? Considering all these things going around. And he does not like them being in his face. The other ones kind of coddle him, or let's leave him alone because he'll have a tantrum. And those two are very much in his face. So I don't think he really wanted to apologize to them. Otherwise, I agree with you. He would have waited.
Yeah.
Interesting. In terms of Eric and obviously Virginia, obviously the drinking issue is we seen it all. We saw it from the very first episode, didn't we? But we're now starting to see. It's honeymoon, so I guess there's some leeway there as well. But is it getting to a stage where it's becoming problematic, the drinking? And if so, how does one even handle such a situation?
I don't want to paint it as problematic until we at least get home.
Right.
Fair enough.
Because, like, for me, a big example is when we went on our honeymoon, we drank every single day. We stayed in an all-inclusive resort, and there were drinks every day. We might not have gotten drunk every day, but we had drinks every single day. If you look at pictures, there's wine on the table, there's rum punch around. We were drinking. That's typical honeymoon behavior, in my opinion. We drank at our wedding. That's all we've seen of them thus far is a bachelorette party where drinks are to be had, a wedding, which is a celebration, drinks are to be had, and honeymoon, drinks are going to happen. Right. So I can't say until we get home and it becomes an actual issue of I'm going out every weekend, I'm getting drunk like this every weekend, then it can become an issue. But I see a lot of it as, yes, she did say she drinks, what is it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
And she probably
are you drinking on those days, or are you getting drunk on those days? Those are two different things. Because I could have a glass of wine Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and nobody thinks it's a problem. But if I'm getting drunk Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's when it becomes a problem. So I guess I would wait until we get home to see what that looks like.
Okay. Stephanie?
I agree with her. I do. Because it's just, you don't want to paint that label. Like, one of my professional certifications is in addiction, and I've worked in treatment, and I've seen the absolute worst of the worst. So it's hard for me to just want to slap that label on her, because I get a bunch of comments. Do you think she's an addict? It's like, we haven't seen enough to be able to say. They can splice it any way they want. Does she drink excessively? Absolutely. But I agree that we need to see, because if it starts impeding in her life, where she can't get to work, or she is not showing up in certain, like, where it really becomes, okay, let's check off this addiction list, then we can say that. It is excessive, though. I'll say that where it's a problem, and we see Eric struggling to keep up. So it's kind of like, you don't want to, if you have to struggle to keep up with your mate, like, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. So
you can say she's able to function behavior. You can tell Eric that's not what he does. Yeah, and you see his behavior becoming her behavior again because they're on their honeymoon. He said, "I don't do this at home." And he loves flying more than he loves her. Yeah. And, he loves his job more than he loves her. So I think when he gets back home, for him, it'll be easy for him to go cold turkey and no drinking. I think it'll be because he recognized this is honeymoon, we're good, I'm done. Now, for her, it might be a problem. She might need a hope that he's flying on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so he doesn't have to deal with the conversation they're gonna have. Because again, she says she's sociable. She likes to go out with her friends. She likes to hang out. Again, she likes to do. When they get back home, there's gonna be some things that she's gonna have to curb because this is her husband now. So the drinking may have to curb a little bit because she complained about spending time with him. But what if he's home Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, and he doesn't want to drink? He wants to stay at home. He doesn't want to go out. So now there becomes a little issue and rift between them two. So hopefully the drinking will stop when she gets home. I don't think so, but only time will tell.
That's a fair point. That's a fair shout. I like that. Balanced. So obviously moving on to Bree and to Vincent. I'm just going to ask her, what are your thoughts? That's what I'm going to ask. I don't want to guide any questions. I want to ask, what is your immediate thoughts? Well, I go to August love story first and then get your thoughts. What are you guys' thoughts on the Bree and the Vincent situation?
I think they're good, man. They're going through things that all of us go through. You know, as a married couple, it's like me and Artika we're doing good. We're doing everything is doing fine. And then we get on each other's nerves. We tell each other we're getting on each other's nerves, and then be like, "You want something to eat?" And you know, they just have to get to that point. You know, you're gonna argue. That's a part of the game. You know, you're gonna argue. You're not gonna agree on everything every time. You have to adjust. You have to learn your partner, and those are the growing pains that they're going through. So,
and they're less than 7 days into this, so
it's meeting each other.
Yeah, so it's like you don't know each other, and it's kind of hard. Like it was very hard for me when we first started dating. That he's so direct. Like he will literally just say, "Hey, you're getting on my nerves. Can you chill out?" But I wasn't used to that in previous relationships, and so they're gonna have to get used to that part of each other. Like Brianna saying how she feels, Vincent saying how he feels, and then them being able to like blow off a little bit of steam apart from each other, process what was said, and then just move past it.
Stephanie?
I agree. I think they have the most natural energy to me. Like if we all had like a couples kickback and you brought your single friends out trying to hook them up, I feel like they have this natural chemistry. They are like the exact perfect reflection of like that new love where you care about every single thing that your partner thinks about when you don't after a while. you learn to pick and choose. Like this battle's not worth it. Let me just, or you learn to be direct. Like you are getting on my nerves. And I remember many years ago, I was having lunch with my mom, and this older couple, I mean, they had to be in their 80s, was sitting next to each other. And they were having lunches, sitting next to us, they were having lunch. And the man was saying something to the woman. And she said, "Don't talk to me for the rest of lunch." Like she was so tired of him. And you know what? He did not talk to her for the rest of lunch. And then he picked up their stuff, he cleaned off the table, and they held hands and walked out. And I was like, oh my God, like that would have ruined a young couple. Like, I would have been like, don't talk to you. Bet. Like, I'm not talking to you. You know, I mean, so they will learn, like marriage is a mirror. They're going to see themselves in a way that they never have. And they're going to have to grow in a way they've never had to, because your family and friends can just accept you for who you are. So that's why it's so cute when they say, "Oh, she's bossy, she's bossy." That's going to get old very quick. And she's going to have to learn, okay, I maybe need to be less regimented or give him room to just be. And he will have to learn, maybe I need to pick it up in some areas, or I'm comfortable in this way. But I really like them. I think they have like the best natural chemistry so far.
I agree.
Yeah, we feel the same way. I love Brianna and Vincent. I love them, and I think so far they're, what we can tell, they're nicely matched. And you touched on her family and friends saying how bossy she is. Yeah, she's gonna see that's gonna get real old real fast. As long as Vincent knows how to say, "Hey, you know I was tying my shoes before you got here, right? You know I was brushing my teeth before you came along. I know how to keep a house. I know how to, as long as he can say, and she can realize that I don't have to tell him what to do. This is a grown man. And I'm a grown woman, and he knows how to handle himself. It's a way that, before we got married, I had a cousin tell me that, oh, I can't believe Jackie got married. She's been bossy for so long, but I don't boss him. Not all the time.
The truth comes out, right?
Because he won't let me, he doesn't let me boss him. He has no problem saying, you know what, okay, all right, I hear you, all right.
Yeah, but you learn that in marriage.
Yeah.
You learn that when you single and you come there. I give you an example with us. One biggest thing was, but it's a good example. Don't worry. What are you gonna say?
Teach us.
One of the biggest thing was when I first got married. I used to go downstairs and look. I'm fixing a sandwich for myself, dog. I didn't ask, do you want a sandwich? I used to give you something to drink, some chips on a plate. For me, it's like, oh, where's mine? You know what I'm saying? Not like you ain't fix me nothing. But you learn that in marriage. As Stephanie said, pick your battles. When to be nice, when to choose those things, when to say something, and how to say it. We learned that from Vincent. He waited until the cameras were off to have the discussion. He didn't want to have that conversation on camera. So he's learning already. Okay, I have a bossy wife. Let's not front her in front of America. Let me go ahead and have a conversation when production leaves, so we can handle it behind the scenes, so we still look good. So he's learning now how to handle her bossiness. And again, sometimes as men, we need that structure because we haven't had that structure in a long time. And so sometimes, and you got to compliment each other. Okay, look, I've been brushing my teeth, but okay, I don't want you to squeeze the bottom of the toothpaste or squeeze in the middle of the toothpaste. I want you to squeeze the bottom so it can come up right. See, somebody else feel me on that, right? See, somebody else feel me on that.
So, I got you, bro.
I've been brushing my teeth for years, but now, as a conscious effort, I know she doesn't like me to squeeze the middle of the toothpaste. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to squeeze the bottom, so therefore, we don't have that conversation anymore. And that's how you learn in marriage. Okay, is it worth us to be mad over some toothpaste all day long? No, sir. Let's get it done. Go ahead and adjust, fix it, and let's move on so we can do better things in the day. So our day is good, so our night can be much better.
Let me ask a more direct question to the panelists.
Somebody pick that up right there.
Someone's squeezed in the middle, isn't it?
Toothpaste thing. Oh man, she squeezed it like she Fred Flintstone or somebody, man. She wasting all this toothpaste at the bottom, man. I'm trying to you man. When I saw that, I was like, no, we can't do that. No, that gotta change.
Oh my gosh. I love that, man. Let me ask a more direct question to you guys then. Okay, so because you guys have rounded out quite nicely with the Brianna and Vincent situation. So I want to juxtapose two things. Bree's bossiness and his temper that hasn't come out just yet, seemingly, allegedly. So obviously, how do you guys feel about that dynamic playing off against one another? Because I definitely agree with you. I don't think they're gonna fail. I think they're gonna pass with flying colors. I'm talking about some things that may happen in between that time to that point. Her bossiness, his quiet storm that may be brewing underneath, that hasn't yet surfaced. How do we feel about those particular juxtapositions at the moment in their relationship?
It's gonna come out.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Ain't no way around it. It's gonna happen, and the best thing we can do as viewers is hope that they are able to, if need be, table the conversation and come back to it. Because like with me and her, we've had to do that plenty of times. Like I've had to take a walk. She had one time she left and was gone for like 5 hours. I was like,
I don't even remember
she coming back. But no, it's gonna happen. I just hope the response to it is what we see from them. What we expect from them. So,
and one thing I'll add to that is the blow-ups or the anger that your family sees is not necessarily what your spouse sees.
Yes.
Okay.
Because Tommy's family could tell me how he reacts when angry, and that is not the person that I see. That is not the person that I know. Like there's just two sides to a person. And usually your family sees you as one way, which is sad because they see you as the person that you were while you were with them. Not the person that you evolve into becoming when you're out on your own.
Right.
So when you look at it from that point, maybe they're talking about 16-year-old Champagne Vinny that blew up.
Okay.
Not however old he is now, 28, 29, 30-year-old, like Vincent, that is an adult and has learned how to like deal with his emotions and can think before he reacts. So you just have to look at it also and take it with a grain of salt of what they could have seen and what they're saying has actually happened. Because like I was saying, this person here is not the person that his family thinks is going to react. Like I remember not even in anger, but I remember when a family member passed away, they called me to break the news to him. And I'm like, you can tell him he's okay. Like, he's not going to react the way that you guys think he's going to react. So I would just take that as a grain of salt of, is he going to blow up? Because he might not. He might just need to take a minute, cool off, walk away, come back.
Good point. Stephanie?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think communication is key for them, like effective communication, not communicating just, to wrap it up so I can say what I want to say, but actually listening and even maybe like regurgitating what you said to make sure I'm hearing it. Because like her bossiness and rigidity is going to trigger his anger. Yeah. Unless it's something else, unless it's related to something else. And so if he does not learn to communicate, then he's going to blow up. He needs to learn to communicate. Hey, you're, what you're doing here, how you're micromanaging me or whatever the case may be. His increase in communication is going to trigger now her to communicate how she's feeling or have some sort of self-reflection. And then they'll be able to kind of like simmer down. But communication is going to be key for them, because otherwise he's just going to be pissed. She's going to keep doing this thing. She's not going to know, because this is who she's been. Like you were just saying, this is who she's been her whole life. This relationship will cause her to evolve, and it'll trigger him to evolve as well, so that he can do maybe what he's never had to do before, communicate. So
I think also your guys made a great point. Also, remember she said when she in the pre-shows that she wanted somebody that when she gets home to help her relieve some of her bossiness, to be able to sit there and listen to her and conversate with her. And I think with them, with this aspect of it, he's able to do that, to negate some of her bossiness by communicating, by having that opening ear to listening to her if she had a rough day, by doing some of those things and processing, and the way he responds back will affect some of her bossiness. The way that he interacts back will affect some of her bossiness. By him doing some things before she even asks will help alleviate some of her bossiness. Once they get to learn each other, they only in 5 days. So once they get to like week 4 or the halfway point, there should be some things that he understands, because they spend so much time together that it should negate some of the bossiness that she does. When they start living together, okay, she wants the forks here, she wants the dishes here, or she wants to make sure there's no dishes left in the sink in the middle of the night, or the bed made in the next, in the morning when she get up. So some of those things that people, her family members say she's bossy with, by them being together and learning each other, it would negate some of the bossiness.
And I was going to say, as far as Vincent with the blow up, she already kind of started that on the honeymoon. Like Stephanie said, it's about communication. And she said to him, I don't want you to get to the point where you hold this in and hold this in and hold this in until it goes, poof. She said that. She was like, let's talk about it. Get it out. I don't want you to hold back. Hey, me and my husband had to go through that. He said that sometimes he didn't say anything because he was like, oh, she's going to react like this. And I'm like, but you didn't give me a chance to react. You don't know how I'm going to react. That's your assumption because it's based on what happened before. But I might be in a different mindset at this point. So she's telling him, yeah, don't let it build up. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out. If I'm rubbing you the wrong way, let me know. I might not like it in that moment. I mean, tell the truth. When we express to our spouse or our friend or whatever, in that moment, they might not get it. But it's going to take me a minute. Let me sit back and think about it. Oh, okay, this is what they were saying. So communication is key. And then, like you were saying, family will see you blow up or react in one way. a lot of times we don't act like that. It's a different kind of love. It's a different kind of relationship. And where I feel like I might could scream on you because we grew up together. You get on my nerves. I'm a temperate more because this is the person I love. It's a different kind of way I'm looking at them than I am my little brother, my little sister, the person that irritates me. Not that my spouse doesn't irritate me, but I have more invested. It's a different kind of commitment to this person.
And I think the delivery is the key. It's how you deliver it. That tone, pitch, and volume that you deliver it in, and voice is how you receive it. Delivery is going to be key for them, the way he delivered it.
Good points here, man. Some good points. I like the points that you've made, guys. I like the points that you've made. I guess we're on a final leg of the conversation. We are on the final leg of the conversation, and we've left the best till last. I need not ask a question about these two. I need only ask what your opinions are, and I'm sure you'll give it to us. What are our views at the moment, present time, with Chris and Paige? What is our, because you guys are all in relationships at the moment. You can see from I want to get a relationship perspective, because from a single perspective it's a bit, I think sometimes you can see a bit differently, but I don't know, I want to get from your perspective. What is your perspective of the relationship that why am I losing my throat? Boy, there you go. What is our perspective on the Chris and the Paige situation currently at the moment?
I guess I'll go first. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't like Chris and Paige together. I didn't like how he came out. Like I said earlier, man, it's an experiment. You have to allow the experiment. If you don't like this girl, you don't have to sit up here and say, "Hey, man, I think you're ugly." But you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to say that. You just go with it. You know, like, do your best. If you know that you're going through some things, call the pastor, call the experts. But don't just sit there and be like, have this person that you don't know, because at first off, you don't know how she's going to respond to what you're saying. So have a conversation with her, talking more about just her sex with her. You know what I'm saying? I think, I hate to say it like this, but I think they're ruining the show. Because if next season, if there's a couple like this, it's gonna be even harder to watch. You know,
most of us are gonna bow out.
Right, it's gonna be so hard to watch, and I think with Paige, a lot of people are taking like just going at Chris, but Paige needs to be held responsible too. Like, come on, man.
Yes.
Like, it's 3 days. This man, y'all been together 6 days. This man has apologized 3 times already. Got a baby on the way. Like, why are you accepting this? It's if you say it's God. God does a lot of things for me in my life. Who I depend on. You know what I'm saying? I depend on God to make sure that I can do what I need to do to provide for my family. But God's you saying God put me in this position to be a wife and blah this and blah that. God put you in a position to see things that you shouldn't accept.
God gave us free will.
Right. This is one of those things you should look at and be like, what am I doing here? Because first off, this man say he's not sure if he loves this ex-girl. Like, what are you doing?
He said he still does. He didn't even say
he's not sure. He
said he still does.
Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, so I think they're ruining the show. I think Chris is a terrible human being. And I'm not gonna say he's a terrible human being. I don't know the guy, but what he's portraying is of a terrible human being.
He's not a very good husband.
Yeah,
awful husband. And Paige is honestly is not helping either. That's my opinion. The nicest way I could put it.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, God is not a God of confusion, you know, because Paige was saying that, I'm here for his will. But what we see is chaos. So God gives us free will, and his will for us is not going to confuse us or feel chaotic. And so if it does, then you're operating in your way and not his will. So Paige needs to be held accountable for that, because I think that she's like hiding under the umbrella of God because she just doesn't want to lose. She's wanted this so bad. But I think God allowed her to make the decision to be a part of this experience for something else that is not ending up with Chris. Because she's caught up in the cycle of abuse. And like, even for a show or a contractual obligation, like, I don't understand why she's still there. So then I start to question what happened in your past, or what patterns in your relationships have happened that you allow yourself to continue to succumb to this type of treatment, where you're so overtly disrespected and you're still trying to find out why, you know, this behavior is okay, when like her gut is telling her no. Because we see this very ethereal, soft-spoken Paige, but then when she's talking to Brianna, she has some edge to her. There's another part of her. So I don't know why that edge has not shanked Chris yet. But, you know, for some reason, she is letting, I'm from Chicago, y'all.
That same energy, I hear you.
Yeah.
Chicago and Haitian, so it's either shank or machete, it's something. But she's letting this happen, and I don't get it. Chris is like an abuser, whether it's portrayed for this show or if he's really like that. His insecurity within himself is causing him to really mistreat people, because he's mistreating himself. And so that's happening, where he's mistreating people, and he's doing the cycle where he does something really offensive, then he circles back and he apologizes, or he shows up in a way that is like a version of chocolates and flowers, and then he abuses again, and you know, wins trust again. And so it's these cycles, and she's continuing to be a part of it. And I think it's, you know, I can't really believe anything that Chris has to say. You know, you just found out, but you've been on this honeymoon for like 3 days. We've had conversations. Well, when are you having these conversations? Like, when do you have time to have had the conversation that you don't want to raise your son outside of your, you know, outside of your relationship? You may want to get back together. We still love each other. How long ago was this? You know, you've only, like, if you even just add up the time that you would have been chosen, also be intimate with this person, a lot of the things aren't adding up. And he's really showing up in a way that is like highly manipulative and highly abusive and terrible for her mental health. And whether it's his role for the show, the whole purpose in me reviewing these shows was the fact that we watch these shows and we say, oh my God, what a train wreck. You know, I can't believe this person would do that. How stupid are they? And sometimes we mirror these behaviors and we don't even realize. So for the people who are watching and saying, why would she deal with that? Somebody is watching and is dealing with that. So I try to forget, because it's easy to fall into, well, how did production, you know, we don't really know unless we really know. We don't really know. So it's important to just see it for what it is and try to learn from it in that way. But I think he's horrible. Like, I think he's a clown. He's the master circus in this clown, and everybody's on this Ferris wheel, and I don't get it.
I don't know. When I think about Paige and Chris and how she keeps putting it on God, a lot of things that we try to put on God that we've done ourselves. And I just keep thinking, you know, the word says the blessings of the Lord maketh one rich, and it adds no sorrow. A blessing from the Lord is not going to add sorrow. She's in sorrow right now. You know,
Day 5.
You know, you're in a bad place. And like Stephanie said, you think about people watching the show, for real. This is mirroring some people's situations. There is somebody right now that's in a marriage that they should not be in anymore, and they're so caught up in with. And I'm just going to say it. So God is putting me in this marriage, and meanwhile God might be like, but I'm releasing you to go. You just won't go. I don't want you to. You don't have to stay in the state that you're in.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay in this state. Especially for Paige, honey, you ain't that invested. It's not that much time that you have to stay in this. You don't have to stay. And it doesn't make you look any less than a woman if you bow out gracefully. If anything, we'll be like, girl, thank you. Because somebody else is looking. They really are like, I'm scared to go. And, you know, it might give somebody else the strength to be like, you know what? I don't have to put up with this either. I don't have to put up with this either. And then, like Stephanie said, that cycle, man, I'm not trying to be too churchy, but I mean, it's like, you know, church folks, sometimes we go through that cycle. God, I ain't going to do it no more. I promise you, if you take me out of this, I ain't going to do it no more. And fall right back into, he got to save you again. You know, Chris needs deliverance.
Not only do we need deliverance, but you know what? Wouldn't nobody be mad if Paige pulled a Zach? Remember how Zach went and lived in his own apartment? Yeah. And if Paige pulled a Zach, I don't think anybody will be upset. And I think that's what she should pull, that she pulled a Zach. This relationship is toxic from day one. And I agree with Stephanie. When did you have time? If your girlfriend's blocked and you blocked her, who unblocked who first so you can get this phone call? Right? So who unblocked who first so you get this phone call? You spent 2 hours downstairs. This question. On my honeymoon, if I would have gone for 2 hours, it would have been nice when I came back. You know what I'm saying? Where you been at for 2 hours, dog? You went downstairs to get breakfast and got lost? You know, so her passive aggressiveness is trying to be with somebody. And let's not forget, you still keep giving it up to him. Yeah. You know, right? Okay, so you could have keep giving him sex to make you think it's gonna fix him, but he keeps showing you who he really is. And girl, your stuff ain't that good and he ain't that great for him to change because he ain't changed yet. So can we be honest? So you keep giving, but again, there's somebody out there keep giving sex to somebody that they're gonna change. And they're not gonna change because you keep giving it up. And that's what she does. He's misbehaving and doing what he needs to do, and she's still giving him the goodies. All right, misbehaving, he's still getting the goodies. Misbehaving, still getting the goodies. So guess what? He realized, guess what? I keep misbehaving, you're gonna keep giving it to me, so why do I need to change? My behavior. So Chris and Paige has to really have self-esteem about herself, and hopefully when she gets home, that support system, we like, you know what, her brother and her mom are like, yo, girl, this ain't for you. And so hopefully the experts would say, guess what, this is not for you. I think my issue with the experts, even with dealing with this, I think sometimes they're so far removed. I think there should be a lot of pre-counseling, more so than when on the show. Because a lot of relationships, if you have a lot of pre-counseling, some of these things are fixed before you get married. You can even say, you know what, this ain't the person I want to marry. You see, what I learned about counseling is not for me to confirm your marriage. Counseling is for me to tell you what's wrong with your marriage and you need to fix it. Because some people go into counseling already thinking, you know what, I'm gonna get married regardless of what this counselor says. It just becomes a priority. But if the counselor says, what, I don't think y'all should get married, are you really gonna take the advice of the counselor or are you gonna be mad? You see what I'm saying? Some people just go because it's a good thing to do pre-marriage counseling. Oh, they told me to go to pre-marriage counseling. Well, if the pastor or the person you pay for counseling tell you, guess what, I don't think y'all should be together because it's not gonna work, it's toxic, do you listen or don't listen?
You know what happened. We know a lot of people that happened to, and they still went into it.
God put me together. Well, why are you going to counseling anyway? God put you together.
Listen, they was like, everybody that loved you said don't do it. And they was like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Let's do it anyway. They were married for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Legitimately 2 weeks. It's like, legitimately. But everybody sees it, but you are so much in love that you don't see it yourself. And I think, how much, and I guess a question for you guys, I'm not trying to take over, how much does this Paige stand because of contractual agreement more so than what she really feels?
We don't know. We don't know because there's just so many. There's a higher consequence for leaving than there is a gain for staying in terms of monetary gain. Right. But I think what they're missing, because the experts, I feel like they're not even on the show. I feel like if they included, and they may not want that because it wouldn't add to the drama, but I feel like they need like a weekly session. Like they need a coach, a relationship coach or a therapist that each week, one of the scenes is their weekly session to unpack some of the stuff going on with them so that somebody can constantly check in and you can see that evolution. Because they don't have that. They're literally like kids left in a room, door locked, and it's just everybody's running crazy and why isn't this working out? And it's unfair to them. So.
And you go on the baby monitor every once in a while. Y'all all right in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. No, when you ask, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, all right, I'll check back in later."
Yeah, or you hear the screams and you just turn the volume down. It's like, hello.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The question the audience wanted to ask is about the bank account situation. So they wanted to know from married couples what your opinions are on the bank accounts. Do you get it joint? Do you get separate? Do you have a joint and a separate? How do you guys, I guess, do it? They want to know from married couples your perspective.
Well, to pertain it to the show, Paige needs to keep her money separate from this guy.
Yeah.
That's the first day. Like, Paige, don't you get no joint account with that dude. But no, like, I mean, like, we talked about this on our podcast once. The way that we do it is we have our own money, but we also have a joint account. I think having the joint account helps out, just because it's a way for us to see what we got for the bills, and then also we have our own money, you know. And I mean, like, for every relationship, for every couple is different, you know. It may be, I know with my granddad and my grandma, when we was talking with them, they were like, it's just one account, you know, that everything goes into, and she pays all the bills out of, and he puts the money in there, you know. That don't work for everybody. It doesn't work for me. I looked at them like, oh, okay, we not doing that, you know. But it's just, you know, it just depends on who's doing what and how it works for each couple. But in my opinion, Paige needs to keep it. Like, the thing that bothered me the most is she was like, I make a third of what you make. And he took the time out to say, no, it's a quarter. Like, no, you don't need to anybody that's petty like that. You don't need to put your money with theirs. Like, for what? Because at this point, it's he's going to use that money for no good. If he's looking at it as, oh, this is just petty change right here, I'm taking care of all this, I can use this to buy whatever else I want, you know. So I think if they did that, she'd get the short end of the stick for it. So
Stephanie?
Yeah, I agree. I think you should have both, or not you should have both. I think it's a good idea to have both. On the show, I definitely don't think, I think it's way too early to merge for them. But for us, the idea of both is great, because you can have, you know, something where you come together, decisions are made, et cetera, and then you have your own. I think that you should be able to access each other's, you know, just in case. You should be able to have that information, even if it's just your account. I still have the login, or I have access to that. You have access to mine, because you just never know how life goes. But you still have individual desires. And as long as you're being smart and responsible, then you should be able to have both, where there's the joint and then there's the individual ones. And then also it's important to consider who's a good steward of finances. So sometimes we're talking about, should you do this or should you do that? But it really should be about, what's the smartest situation here? If a joint account is not going to work because your spouse is not financially savvy, or they tend to overspend or spend emotionally, and there's some trust issues there with finances, then although a joint account sounds great, it's like, we may not need to do that. We may need to say, okay, here are the bills, here's how much we're each contributing from our individual accounts, so on and so forth. Still have access to each other's accounts, in, you know, in terms of logins and whatnot, but just be mindful, because money can get really, really tricky. So,
yeah, I agree with Stephanie. I thought about this with Katie and Derek, and I told my husband, when he was like, I put her on my life insurance, I was like, why? I understand the premise, but I was like, we're too young in this. That's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
And I mean, I used to work at a health insurance company. It's a lot of trouble to put somebody on there, and then you have to take them off. You have lapses, you know, anything can happen in between there. So I was like, you know, why? That was a kind gesture. So I say same thing with the bank account. We're too early in this to be talking about joint bank accounts. And then, like y'all were saying, August love story. In this case, for sure, y'all do not need to put your money together. I didn't like the way Chris was like, I'll have my money and I'll give you whatever you need to take care of. And I felt like that's why he got the women that he got before. You talk about they only want you for your money, but that's what you do. You perpetuate that by, let me give you some money for your shoes. Let me give you some money for your bag. And so those are the kind of girls that you attract. Not girls, women. Those are the kind of women, females that you attract. And it doesn't deter them when you keep doing it like that. So they used to it. And Paige is a strong, independent woman. And in that moment, for real, if I was Paige, I'd be like, I don't need you to give me anything. Because even though I might make a quarter of what you make, it ain't no chump change, apparently. She's making her money. So I don't know. It just depends. My parents were like that too, as far as I know. They had they had joint accounts, banking and savings, period. And then my daddy had his little stash in his wallet, hidden behind the flap. And my mama had her stuff, but she kept the checkbook. She paid the bills. So it all depends on what works for you. We have joint bank accounts, but we also have our own money. We don't have our own bank accounts, but we have our own money. And he don't say nothing he don't say nothing to me. If I want to spend it on this, that's what I'm gonna spend it.
But this is the way we do it, though. And I want to clarify, because we do have one account, and we have all our accounts are joint. We do have passwords for the accounts. Because Stephanie, you said it key, because I know a husband who almost died, and his wife had access to money to pay the bills that she needed to pay.
That's not point.
And so she was like, I have money, but I can't access it because he never gave me anything. Because that's the key there. Do you have access? The way we create it, we try to create it like a corporation in our house and a business. Everything goes in one account. And we sit down, we have weekly budget meetings. And we sit down and we allocate everything. Okay, here. This is, I want to say play money. This is spend money here. This is your money here. But we know what's coming in the bank account. We know what's there. And so we allocate everything. Everything that we got to budget, it is budgeted down to a T. So therefore, there's no secrets. But I know what you have now. Other things that we get from odds and ends, somebody giving money, whatever the case may be. But we keep everything. There's no secrets. So we keep it like an open business. We want to know what comes into the business, what goes out of the business, so there's no surprises.
And I want to say this too, and we've also experienced, and I don't know if y'all have known people like this, sometimes when you have separate stuff, let's talk about bank accounts. When one person moves into another person's house, when you have your own car, sometimes people get real possessive. Even though we're married and we all moved in and we knew when we got married, this is gonna be our house. In the end, it's still my house. And so you get on my nerves, give me my key back. Sometimes stuff like that, separate stuff, it causes friction, and it has one person that could lord over the other person and say, this is mine. And it causes separation sometimes if you're not careful, if you don't establish guidelines and boundaries.
And that's stuff that people need to discuss prior to marriage, and I think that's things that need to be discussed.
But not Paige and Chris.
Not Paige and Chris. If your wife's a gambler or a drug addict, you don't want them to be in charge of the money.
No, sir.
Before you think you have money, next thing you know, the lights get cut off. I never seen electricity. They don't cut the lights off on your side of the house. Everybody.
Right.
I appreciate that. Obviously, I mean, for those audience who are listening, you got two perspectives. So you got your question answered. So you know, do what's best for you. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
and make it work for what you guys do. So I know I've actually come towards the end of our time, guys. You know, I know we could have gone a bit more deeper into the Chris and the Paige situation, but you gotta let them leave a little bit on the edge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For them to come into next time. And plus, you guys have obviously done some great reviews around it as well. So I really want to kind of steer people towards that. So audience members, I want to let you guys know, listen, I am joined by 3 fabulous YouTubers who also review Married at First Sight. This is why it's called a coalition. We are all coming together, you know what I'm saying, and sharing resources here. I want you guys to go to their channels and subscribe to them if you haven't done it already. Subscribe to them, you know what I'm saying, like, share, subscribe. You know my motto: like, share, subscribe. It's a very simple format. Okay, all right. So that's Jack and Glenn. Then the top right under my side, we've got Stephanie Lee on my bottom right. We've also got August Love Story on my left. I want you guys to go to their channel. Make sure you guys subscribe. Also like this video because it helps with analytics, guys. Okay, yeah, like this video. Okay, but I want to give you guys the opportunity to give a closing statement. You can choose any couple or all the couples you want to just a minute closing statement, and then we'll close out a wonderful show that we've had today. So if I go with Jack and Glenn first, if you can give us your minute closing statement.
Now, first of all, we appreciate being on with this coalition. Great people. We watch all you guys' channels, and we appreciate your content. I appreciate what you do each and every week. So we enjoy it. We thank all the viewers out there watching us. You know, just enjoy Married at First Sight. When you have something, we enjoy having the conversation because, as Stephanie said, it's real life. There's some people that we know are going through this, and we want to be able to help somebody else by our viewpoints. We've been married for almost 20 years. You know, we got married at the age of 23. I was 23 at the time, so we've been married for a long time. And so we have different viewpoints and different things that we've been through. So we want to be able to add some insight and value to some of the people on TV. So, hey, we appreciate being here. Go subscribe to Jack and Glenn. We thank you for the invitation, and we enjoy the conversation. And we'll see you guys next week.
Love that. Stephanie Lee.
All right. Well, this was so much fun, you guys. I really appreciate being on and meeting everyone because I feel like I put my stuff on and I'm running to the baby and I'm missing everything. So like, like a little FaceTime with people feels really good. This is as good as we can get until the world, lets us meet in person. I would just say, even though it's a train wreck sometimes, just continue to watch. Try to fashion yourself after the people that you identify with the most, because I'm big on edutainment. Therapy isn't necessarily a glitzy career, but I love entertainment. I love that. And so I wanted to marry the two. And the way that my brain works in watching anything is like, what can I get from it? It's not going to be wasted time for me because a lot of things that I've learned, I see. And sometimes the mirror is watching somebody else. And so even though it might be tough to watch, I really appreciate that you guys come and you're watching this live and you watch my reviews, because we're able to have a fruitful dialogue and breathe connection back into humanity, because we are so disconnected a lot of times with social media and stuff like that. That's seemingly connecting, but we're not really connecting. So it's good to be able to kind of have this fruitful dialogue and grow and evolve, even when we're watching a show that it's not National Geographic, but we're still, we're still able to get something out of it. So thank you guys, and I can't wait to do this again.
Thank you. August Love.
I'll let you do this.
Just delegating. Love it.
Right. Man, I honestly, this has been a lot of fun. I started watching Married at First Sight just off of YouTube and just scrolling YouTube, and for it to have grown to us reviewing the show, being able to talk to you guys, hear different perspectives and everything. It's like, for me, it's just a much appreciation for what you guys do, because I understand what you guys are going through, what people's reactions are, because I have those same feelings. Sitting up here talking to my wife, watching it, and be like, nah, we wouldn't have did anything. That was and just really taking it and really seeing what people are going through, man. Just people giving us feedback, and when our audio is off or something like that, somebody tells me like, hey, y'all mics wasn't on, or this or that, man. I appreciate all of that, man. So I want to thank everybody, man. Just you guys for doing what you do. Everybody that's here looking at the live and listening. I appreciate you guys and everything. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Man, I want to thank obviously my panelists, man, because you know what, like you guys have come with soundness, and you've given some really great points, which even I did not think of it from that perspective. Again, I think it really helps when you come from a married perspective. You see things differently from a relationship perspective. I think you see things differently than when you're in a single mode, right? So I really appreciate you guys giving us a different perspective, a different angle, and I think the audience really loved it as well, because they're going wild in the comment section as well, talking about how you guys have been great. So I really want to thank you guys for accepting the call to host this with myself. We're gonna be back next week, guys. Okay, we're gonna be back in next week. Okay, giving you guys even more great content. So hopefully you guys will be with us next week. In fact, I know you'll be with us next week. Before you guys leave, make sure you guys like this channel, like I said, but please also go and subscribe to Jack and Glenn, Stephanie Lee, August Love. Make sure this is what we're doing. We're coming together as a coalition. You know what I'm saying? So I want everyone to eat. You understand? But guys, thank you so much once again. Audience members, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you. We are out.